And some would say that maybe the guys in the trenches were the MVPs for the Falcons in their joint practice with the Dolphins on Tuesday, the first of two joint practices. They'll get another one underway today, of course, ahead of Friday's game, first preseason game this year, which is exciting because then we really, really get to see what these guys are made of. And so that's the kind of thing that we were looking for, right? You and I talked about those battles in the trenches to really see what this O-line is made of when they're up against a solid D-line, but also to see what the new look D-line would be able to do. And reports coming out from some of our guys, some of our friends to the show who are in Miami said that, yeah, they felt for the most part that both lines gave the Falcons something solid, that pretty much they handled their business or at least held their own at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and that's so encouraging because it makes me smile. It makes me happy because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like like the joint practices haven't been good for the Falcons over the years.
No.
As an organization, like at least for the past 10 years, because one of the things I'll never forget, like one of the first training camps that I was covering for the Falcons, I think it was the one where they were on Hard Knocks. And they did the joint practice with that team, and oh my gosh. You talking about getting exposed. Like, it was like, oh, yeah, this is what Geno Atkins looked like. I think it was Cincinnati Bengals. It was like, oh, Geno Atkins is the real deal. Like, oh, the Falcons might be in trouble this year up front. And that's what ended up happening, because it's one thing to be able to go against your teammates and understand, like, when you go against those guys every day, like I think people need to understand is when you're going against the offensive lineman every day as a defensive lineman, like, you kind of get to know that guy. You understand like all the little intricacies. All right, he leaning hard, so I know he about to get ready to drop back, so I'll be ready to have my pass rush move ready. Or if he's leaning, I can see the white in his knuckles. I know that he's gonna come off the ball when they're about to get ready to run the football. But not so much when you're talking about in training camp, because hey, ain't no film out there for this year. So it's kind of like, hey, you got to bring it. You got to go 100% because you just don't know what that guy's going to bring to the table. So I think to hear the Falcons coming out in the first day, one-on-ones and all that stuff, that's my pride and joy. I love me some one-on-ones. To hear those guys out there taking advantage of the Miami Dolphins offensive line, a team that is being talked about as a contender as long as Tua stays healthy, I'm all for it. Sign me up.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw out of them as well. Just making sure that they actually show something that makes oh, okay, they're competitive. Like, you're not just about to get your running backs to just go off. Nope, not going to happen. And we're not going to let the quarterback get to the point in place where he can just set up and figure that he can just do anything against that defensive line. They'll make you think twice. The DBs are going to make you think twice. And I say that, and we'll get to the DBs in a second, but I say that understanding that, okay, they went against some all-world wide receivers yesterday. Now, let's be real. I mean, the speed is unmatched, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But ultimately speaking, what Jeff Gray said about what he wanted to see out of the DBs was much more important than what we actually saw yesterday. Now, speaking of important, or shall we say unimportant, the unofficial depth chart. Unofficial depth chart was dropped on Tuesday. It's the first one of the preseason for the Falcons. And of course, the whole of Falcons Nation was abuzz. Oh my God, Bijan Robinson is listed as third on the depth chart. Tyler Algier is ahead of him, and Cordero Patterson is ahead of him. Okay, it's the first depth chart for the preseason. Do we care? I know I don't.
Yes. No, absolutely not. Like, here's the thing with T. Like, you really think that, not you, but people out there who are going crazy about Bijan Robinson being third on the depth chart, you really think that he's not going to get any touches? He's not going to be on the field at all. He's going to be a old school, regular third on the depth chart running back. No. Calm down. Arthur Smith is doing that just cause. Like, and to be honest with you, T, I would be surprised if I got David Bassett. He probably came up with this doggone fish. Like, hey, here, put it together. DB put it together. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's nothing. It's nothing. This is like a preseason poll, like a preseason AP poll in college football. Yeah, it's
great
cool,
analogy,
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, once those balls start flying and people start hitting each other, like, we're going to see Bijan Robinson on the field. We're going to see Cordell Patterson on the field, and we're going to see Tyler Algier on the field. It might not be at the same time, but all those guys are going to get those touches, and I think that Arthur Smith is going to orchestrate this offense to a point where it's not gonna even matter like
No.
what those guys are on the depth chart.
Yeah, you shouldn't be concerned about when Bijan Robinson, where he is on the depth chart and when he enters the game. What you should be concerned about is how he enters the game. Is he entering the game to tote the rock? Is he entering the game to be a pass catcher? How is he lining up? That's
Yes.
what you should really be paying attention to, and the proficiency with which he knows how to actually execute those plays. To me, that's far more important versus whether I see him 12 plays or 2 plays. For the 2 plays that I see him, I'm curious to see how they line him up and also how he's able to execute that play. I think that's much more important. And speaking of that, we all always are encouraged, and that's just even media, like whether you're fans or media, you never want to see a player go down to injury, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
everyone took a collective gasp last week when Jeff Okudah went down, and then we got word that, hey, it may not be as serious as it looked initially. This guy's going to come back, quote unquote, Arthur Smith saying early in the season that's the encouraging word. Then yesterday got another, little bit, we're just going to call it a setback to the
Yeah.
secondary where Clark Phillips III got his foot stepped on in practice. Now, the good thing is our guy, Josh Kendall from The Athletic, is reporting that his sources tell him, hey, it's not that serious and he's going to be day to day. That is good, except that you essentially have 2 players in the same space who may or may not be available for week 1, or if they are available for week 1 of the regular season, may not be 100%. So that got me to thinking, that's why Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot can be credited with doing such a great job in adding depth at every position and making sure that this type of thing doesn't allow you to skip a beat. But with them doing that, if those guys, one or both, can't go week 1, which corner for you has shown so far that, hey, they're ready to step in?
I don't think we've seen that yet. I don't think, but I think when you're talking about having guys who are capable of stepping
Yes.
in, I think that's the what you're talking about as far as that depth piece and Terry
Yes.
Fontenot and Arthur Smith, because they haven't had that in the past years. They
Yeah.
literally have to bring guys off the street to come in and sub in for guys like they're ones, DB1 or whatever, cornerback one, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when now that you have guys, we're sitting up here having a conversation like, okay, we got Trey Flowers who can come in and step in on the outside. Mike Hughes, if need be, he can step in on the outside. Not as big as from a size standpoint that Ryan Nielsen and Arthur Smith would prefer, but he can get the job done. He has been there. He has experience of playing on the outside, because you have D. Alford, who I feel like he is
He's
slowly
sneaky.
locking down that
Sneaky
nickel
solid.
spot.
Yep.
Yeah, he's slowly locking down that nickel spot, and I think that Hughes is going to be a guy that can step in and fill that role, because at the end of the day, we talking about Clark Phillips, like he was going to have to fight literally fight to get some playing time in his first year. But he has shown he's been having a really good camp, so far. So especially with his battles going up against Drake London, who is the wide receiver 1. So if he's up here showing like he did and showing improving himself against that guy, you already know that, hey, behind the scenes, he's been impressing coaches as well. So I think overall, though, like when you have this depth piece that they have with Trey Flowers and Mike Hughes and guys like that are willing and have an experience for stepping in, I think that it eases the level of concern when you talk about having 2 guys who you're looking to play a lot, specifically Jeff Okudah.
Right. And when you think about not just that depth, you also mentioned a key part and point of what the build out is, which is what Jerry Gray talked about. He wants to see what those guys are able to do based on where he lines them up. So the versatility, you talk about Mike Hughes of the versatility, you talk about D. Alford and the versatility. Those are all important things as well, because now you're looking at it as a full on DB room versus just, hey, we've got the corners here, we've got the safeties here, we've got the left corner, the right corner. You can actually shift some guys around if need be in order to get things underway the regular season. So I like what Jerry Gray said about the fact that he's more evaluating to see not so much if Jalen Waddle, I get that name, I want to say Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill smoke you. That's not important. It's more important for him to see how it is that you're able to set up, line up, and execute the play that Jerry Gray has installed. So, of course, we're going to bring you guys more from Miami as we get word on how the Falcons are doing in their joint practice. We will, of course, let you guys know and react and anything that's going on here in the world of sports. Hopefully talking about, of course, another Braves win. That would be fantastic. But if you guys have comments or thoughts on what you've seen so far and maybe some of the clips that you've seen out of Miami about what they've been able to do, the Falcons up front, let us know. Drop it in the chat when you check us out on YouTube. And of course, do not forget to download ATL Day Ones wherever you get your podcasts.